Hey everybody, this is the Jeff Rubin Show, and this week's episode is a little bit different. This week, instead of me just talking to one person, I'm going to be talking to several people. And instead of being recorded in my secret laboratory in my underwear, this episode was recorded at Comic-Con, where they made me wear pants. Basically, we did a College Humor panel, and because it was at Comic-Con, we gathered a fellowship's worth of College Humor's nerdiest writers. That's right, these aren't just nerdy writers, because we've got them too. These are the nerdiest. I'm talking straight up fucking virgins. Huge losers, every last one of them. I got to moderate the panel, so it was me asking questions to a lot of my nerdy friends about how they do the things they do. Which, if you've ever heard the show before, probably sounds really familiar. So I said, let's record it, let's release it as a podcast, and here it is. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. I am Jeff, and all the people at this dais over here, including myself, work at College Humor, where we make funny stuff for the internet. And these panelists are all very funny people. I know them all personally. Yeah, okay. But they are not just funny people. Each of them is also a huge nerd. And I'm not just like your average, like huge, I'm talking enormous losers, every last one of them. And stuff about nerds, as you know, if you are currently in the Javits Center at this very moment, is very popular. I think we're next to the Twilight screening. So today, while we're not in there, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we make for the internet, how we make it, and trying to focus on the nerdy stuff in particular. So let's meet these panelists, and here's what I'd like to do. If you guys could introduce yourself with your name and briefly explain what you do at College Humor, and then say your favorite costume that you've seen at Comic-Con so far. And let's start all the way at the end over there.
I'm Brian Murphy. Yeah! Woo! I'm a sketch writer for College Humor, and my favorite costume is this guy because he yelled the loudest for me.
And that is Ang. That is Ang.
Correct.
Okay, girl, just so people can see. People can see.
Cool.
Playing a little trivia game up here while we do the panel.
I'm Susanna Wolff. I'm the managing editor, and I saw there's like 1,000 Doctor Who's outside, but some guy has like a whole TARDIS tent that he's carrying with him. And I like the dedication to just really getting in other people's way the whole day.
That guy's actually the Doctor. That is actually the Doctor.
I'm Caldwell Tanner. I'm the head illustrator for CollegeHumor.com. And thank you. Thanks, Owen. And I think, number one, are you dressed as someone from Charles Barkley's Shut Up and Jam Gaiden? What are you dressed as? That sounds awesome, too.
Kuroko from Kuroko's basketball was
idiot, but I've already got everyone against me.
No wonder no one cared for you.
But my favorite costumes that I've seen thus far were two kids that were dressed as Dipper and Mabel from Gravity Falls. Because I love Gravity Falls real hard.
Hi, I'm Owen Parsons. I'm a writer for CollegeHumor.com. Yay. My favorite costume I've seen so far is I saw a gentleman in a full Robotech jet fighter outfit, which was tremendous, and he was insisting on taking his picture with his mask off, which made it much less impressive.
You kept telling him to turn into an airplane.
Yeah.
I'm Pat Cassels. I'm the head writer for, thank you, College Humor Originals. I saw a costume coming here. I didn't know exactly who he was. He's sort of this very large man in generic ogre makeup with like long, sharp teeth. And I liked it because he was like yelling at his friend from the mezzanine, and he was, I don't know what they were arguing about. He just were like, "Are you coming home with me tonight? Are you come?" And I just love moments like that when it's like dogs at cards. You just see it so much here. You just see like Wolverine eating a cheeseburger. So that was mine.
Hi, I'm Andrew Bridgman. I'm the editor of Dorkly.com. and my favorite costume I've seen so far was a guy in like a Gundam costume, but he wasn't here. He was like 3 blocks down, and he wasn't leaving that spot, and he was there for at least like 2 hours. And I'm not sure if he's coming or not.
You were just watching him for 2 hours?
I went back and forth, and he was still there. I thought maybe he's just a guy who just happened to be in a costume today. I don't know.
Awesome. One more round of applause for all of our panelists. Now, I am really excited to talk to these guys because these are some of the world's experts, really, in creating viral material online, specifically nerdy viral material online. So what I did was I asked everyone to send me 2 things. One, the nerdiest thing they've done that connected with an audience and did really well. And 2, the nerdiest thing they've done that did not connect with an audience and kind of bombed. Because it's not an exact science. Like, I don't know if there's the room for a sports metaphor, but like, it's like baseball, where like if you're hitting 300, you're doing really, really well. So we've all have some duds to our name.
Is that Zack Snyder's 300?
And today we're gonna talk about all of them. We're gonna use them to talk about how we do what we do. Let's start off with one of the bad ones. This one is so bad that 2 people sent it to me. Murph, you sent it to me with just the explanation, all capital letters, did so bad. And then Owen, you sent it to me with the explanation, I'm sure someone sent this to you already, but... do you guys know what I'm referring to? It is, can we put mics in front of Owen and Murph, and maybe you guys can say the title at the same time? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thalden Grixbane Office LARPer.
Why didn't you laugh then? How can that lose?
So, Owen and Murph, can you get we're looking at a picture of it now of Owen as what was it? Grixbane.
Thalden
Grixbane.
So, but what form did this take? What was this?
This was the most popular of internet forums, a text article with
Yeah.
photos attached.
Yeah. It was basically, the idea was that Owen was an office LARPer named Thalden Grixbane, and he would go around and he would ask for like office supplies and make like casual water cooler chit chat, but like in this very grandiose like LARPing way. So there were just these
Where be the copies, wench?
Yeah, exactly. And it did about a tenth of as good as like another article would do.
It did as badly as something can do on Dorkly.
Yeah.
And this was we should note, this was not actually on College Humor. This was on Dorkly, which Andrew briefly mentioned is College Humor's sister site, which focuses mostly on video games, but dorky stuff in general. Mostly on video games, though. So even there, what were you drawing from with this? Because usually, I think, or often anyway, I don't know if I should say usually, but things are based on Doctor Who, or it's based on Bowser, or just something specific. But this is sort of a general nerdery thing. Was there something specific you were drawing from here?
I think we kind of always make stupid jokes around the office where we'll talk in like LARP speak. Like it'll be like, the staples doth run dry. Like when like the stapler runs out or something. And that was just, we would make each other laugh with that. And then we posted on the internet and no one else laughed. It was just for us.
It's almost as if it's only funny if it's your friends doing it.
Yeah. It's a case sort of mistaking an inside joke for something that everyone else will like.
Well, that's interesting though, because when we're doing this nerdy content, isn't it kind of an inside joke? And the group that's inside is all the people in the Javits Center right now.
Right.
So
yeah.
So what's is it hard to like write? I mean, are most things we're doing for an inside? Are they inside jokes?
Kind of. I mean, they're kind of for particular audiences. I think this was an inside joke. Yeah. And that there's no like online Thalden Grixbane fan community that we can see this get promoted on the message board for.
It's an inside joke, and that it's for people who never go outside.
I actually took the liberty of printing a few copies of Thalden Grixbane, and I thought since it was basically a script anyway, maybe we could read one or two of them. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
You guys want to hear that? You guys could pass.
Let's give it another shot.
You guys can pass these down to Owen and Murph. Owen, I'm assuming you are Grixbane based on the picture I'm looking at.
Actually, no. Yeah, no. Yes.
And for some reason, we named you. Your real name is Eric, I guess. In this, why didn't we call you Owen?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll be playing the part of coworker.
Okay. Let's start with page 1.
Okay.
Of 33 pages. Fellow warriors, a grave injustice has been committed this day.
What is it this time, Eric?
As ye all know, within yonder break room fridge there dwells a legendary sandwich, forged with the bread of truth and tempered with Hellman's light mayo.
We all know what a sandwich is, Eric.
But alas! Whilst I was battling spreadsheets, my lunch was pilfered.
You should just send an email.
I suspect wood sprites.
That was scenario 1 that went with that picture. There are more scenarios, don't worry.
Let's do one more.
They all involve wood sprites.
Okay.
Let's do one more.
Let's do the last one, I think. It's probably funnier. Or the one where you're talking to Jeff. Which one do you want?
I definitely left out that I was involved in this when I brought it up.
All right. Go for it.
Noble Zulrich? How did we say?
I don't know.
Noble Zulrich, I have nay seen you since we slayed the manted horde in the sun-toward land of Alphys.
Eric, you promised if I played D&D with you once after work, you wouldn't talk about it in public.
How can I not sing the praises of Zulrich, noblest of paladins?
I swear I usually don't hang out with him.
But our friendship was forged in the heat of battle. Come on, I thought we were best friends.
I love that one because it's like it's this really specific nerdy thing where it's not just the uber nerd, but there's also like the uber nerd's friend who's a little too cool to pretend that like he has to like he can't totally admit that he's into Dungeons and Dragons and he's like kind of trying to distance himself.
It's a really layered joke, you know? I feel like maybe people just didn't get it. They weren't ready.
I think that is probably what we can conclude. This is one of the nerdiest things I can think of that we're looking at today. I'm wondering, is there ever anything that you guys came up with? And I think maybe this was while you guys were working primarily at Dorkly. Is that true?
Yes.
So you guys were working at Dorkly at the time. Was there anything even on College Humor, that was so nerdy that you were like, no, we just can't do this?
I think Caldwell has an answer.
Yeah. I think that Murph and I, along this line, we found an outlet for this eventually with the Dragon Ball Z fan fiction that we did. But Murph and I used to IM each other like fake fan fiction that like famous people like Jerry Seinfeld would write for themselves. Do you wanna read the fake passage that you wrote?
Yeah, we would write Lord of the Rings fan fiction by Jerry Seinfeld, and we tried to make it an article so bad, but I'm trying to remember. It's just,
what's the deal with elves? Asked Jerry, his jerkin riding up. He looked fetching in his noble sweater as he rode behind Gimli on their high quest.
I like that Seinfeld's not only like thinking, it's not just Seinfeld talking about Lord of the Rings. There's also this other layer that he's writing fan fiction about. All right, let's move on to something that did really well, something that was by Susanna and Caldwell, and that something is Doctor Who RPG. Doctor Who RPG. And this, if you can't tell by the screenshot, or you can't see the screenshot, was a video which is part of a series that we do called RPG TV. That's the name of the series, right? What is it? TV RPG, where we take TV shows and tell them the stories of the TV show in the format of an 8-bit or a 16-bit RPG. This one happened to be about Doctor Who. It was by Susanna and Caldwell, and believe it or not, this was very popular on the internet. So, Susanna, I want to talk to you for a second here. Mm-hmm. Susanna, I know the answer to this question. I'm just asking it for the benefit of the crowd. Do you play role-playing games?
No.
Could you lean in a little more, Susanna?
I do not play role-playing games, but I do know a lot about Doctor Who. That is why Caldwell and I teamed up for this, and then Caldwell had the experience of really shamefully explaining RPG minutia to me through like YouTube videos of people's Pokemon games.
It was the worst because I had to be like, okay, well this is like an experience that you would have in Final Fantasy IV. Hold on, let me find a clip on YouTube. No, that's a fan vid. Never mind. No, that's fan art. Oh, no, not that. Definitely not that. Okay, here we go. It was just like over and over again having to like explain these things that like are just kind of secondhand to like nerdy people, but for a normal, well-adjusted human like Suze seemed a bit strange.
Although it still was a hard thing for me to be, I was just like went into full bully mode, making fun of Caldwell for that, and then talking about really specific Doctor Who things. Like, oh, that's the cool part. It's the RPGs that are dorky.
Susanna, do you learn anything? Like, right now, do you know anything about RPGs that you could tell us? I'm curious, like, what your perspective is, someone who's never played one, but who had to spend some time studying them. Is there anything you remember about role-playing games specifically?
No.
This is kind of a question for
I bought her a copy of Pokemon Black and White 2 to play with me, and she won't do it. I don't know what's going on.
Whoa.
That's
Guys,
a lie. He didn't do that.
I don't want Susanna to feel like I'm sandbagging her. Just to be clear, Susanna is one of the biggest nerds I know, if the Doctor Who thing didn't make that clear. But you're not like traditionally nerdy in the way that, let's say, Caldwell is. Do you ever find, and you're the managing editor of the site, so you've certainly edited your share of Pokemon articles and that type of thing. Is that ever tricky? Do you ever find yourself like having to research things so you're equipped to deal with them and decide what's funny and what will connect with an audience?
It sometimes feels a lot like, if you're in like high school French class and you really don't learn a lot and you're reading stuff and you're like, something, that's a verb that does something, and I'll skip over to the next part. I've gotten used to editing things I don't understand. And being able to be like, it's funny. I don't know what it is. It's funny.
Well, Wikipedia has set us all free in this sense. It becomes very easy to like just go on and like, especially for nerdy stuff, there's like just hundreds of like fan-made wikis that will help you on your quest to understand what the hell is going on.
Wikipedia is a beautiful rabbit hole that you can just fall down for hours at a time just researching the elaborate history of Deadpool.
I don't even like Wikipedia is good, but like the wikias are the best because they have like all this flavor text that like the authors are putting in about like what happened to Cinnabar Island in generation 2 through 3.
Although it's really dangerous to read those because there's like a rule that they spoil everything in the first sentence on the page. They'll just like state everything that could possibly happen, and then what's the point of doing anything? I don't know.
Also, go off what you said. I think you're definitely right. Like, even if you don't know specifically everything about the whatever show or movie or video game it is, like when you write comedy long enough, you kind of like can speak that language, and you even if you don't know what a TARDIS is, you understand why it's funny if X, Y, or Z happens to it or whatever, So it's kind of like, and it's shit. And sometimes not knowing every little piece of minutia is good because it like helps you polish it, and you're like, well, this will be funny to this is sort of baseline funny, and then everything else is sort of gravy.
And I think an important thing to clarify is that we have an email list at work with the nerdiest people in the office on it called the Fellowship, where if you're curious about,
Which you all now know.
which is where if you're curious about that, you can basically send things, and you can. There's like a panel of nerds waiting at College Humor to like be like, all right, well this, and
I always get a little excited when I open my inbox and there's just like an email that just says, "Hail Fellowship, I have a query."
I remember I actually set up the Fellowship email, and I remember I had to email IT, and they were like, what is the business purpose of this account? You guys, I imagine that's a situation.
The very fate of the world, my friend.
I imagine that's a situation that we've all found ourselves in. Have you guys, can you remember any specific instances where you just went down that rabbit hole and you were on a specific wiki and you just got lost and you went way deeper than you needed to reading about some subject just to like make one joke for this one little detail for a video or an article or anything like that? Any examples? No. Okay.
Unlike an average day, I have 4 or 5 windows of Comic Vine open, just in the background.
Of what?
Comic Vine.
Oh yeah. Just
general comic book stuff, because if I see like a comic book character, if Batman interacted with Moon Knight, I'm like, oh, what's up with Moon Knight nowadays?
Yeah, it's always good to catch up with people that way.
Catch up with all your friends.
I have I've been writing a video series called Pokemon Rusty with Kevin and Owen. Yay!
Yay!
Very surprised people in this room are into that series.
The thing about that is like you basically like Bulbapedia is your best friend when you're writing like Pokemon jokes, and it is so easy to just be like, oh, well, what does this guy evolve into? How much happiness is required? And it's just like it is such a rabbit hole, or low punny hole if you'll have that.
All right, let's keep moving through this stuff because I want to save some time for Q&A at the end. I want to talk about another one that did really well, and we're going to stick with Caldwell on this one and talk about Caldwell's 5 sci-fi children books. That's what this is called, 5 sci-fi children books, right? And if you can't see the screen or you're listening to the recording of this, you should go online and check it out because it's absolutely phenomenal. We're going to run through them just real quick on the screen over here. The first one is Oh, the Time and Places You'll Go by Doctor Who. The Very Deadly Bounty Hunter by George Lucas, and it's like a very hungry caterpillar. I'm like totally, this is like for Caldwell's articles for blind people right now. Kirk and Spock Are Friends by Gene Roddenberry. What's the name of this book?
The original?
Yeah.
It's Frog and Toad.
I didn't have good parents. I didn't know this one. Learn, the Battlestar Bears learn about Cylons. And Goodnight Dune.
I want to see Admiral Adama Grizzly Bear again. He's a
It looks a bit grisly.
Thanks. I actually
great detail on the acne scars.
The whole time that Caldwell was drawing that, I kept going over, standing behind his shoulder, and being like, make him more pockmarky, more grizzled.
Well, that actually gets to what I wanted to talk about anyway, which is how insanely detail-oriented Caldwell is. Like, look at this one image, which is just one image of this whole article. And this question actually came from our friend Kevin, who we've already mentioned this panel. Kevin wanted to ask, Caldwell, how do you find the time to enjoy your nerdy passions when you have such a time-consuming job? I mean, you guys, we all know up here, Caldwell works insane hours. Just, it's crazy. He is always, and it's always fun walking by his desk because he's like always got, he's got like this, what do you call it, the Wacom?
So
like
Cintiq.
Cintiq, I'm sorry, that he's drawing on. And I think just incredibly long hours, yet still has time to work through these RPGs. Caldwell particularly likes handheld RPGs. So how do you find the time to balance these things?
I would answer this. If you look at, I am fortunate enough to be friends with Caldwell on Facebook, so I see his Spotify, and I'll just be sitting at work, and I'll just be like, man, Caldwell's listening to a lot of music from Final Fantasy VI right now, and I'll take screen caps of him listening to like nerdy video game music, and then send it to the company. Fuck you, Caldwell.
Murph, you spend at least like an hour like writing an entire scene for an email. You're like, Caldwell throws on Those Who Fight Further from Final Fantasy VII. He cracks his knuckles. He opens a new PSD. The day begins. But yeah, I guess like the answer is like, I fall asleep watching a lot of anime. And I do like handheld RPGs. Like I'll play a lot of like Pokemon. I'm playing Pokemon and World Ends with You like on the subway right now. So subway rides are definitely my friends, I guess is the answer to that one.
Yeah.
I wish you said that for no reason. Like it was unprompted. You're just like, I heard you on the subway. Like I fall asleep watching a lot of anime.
That's what's gonna be on my tombstone.
Caldwell, you have this dream job. We're all very lucky, but Caldwell, you have this dream job in that you professionally do fan art of all these characters. Was this something you did like growing up? I have to assume like in middle school, like your notebooks are just like full of doodles of the Ninja Turtles and Pokemon and stuff.
Oh my God, here we go. When I was in like 7th grade, I remember I had this very specific memory of like being up at like 8 or like 7 or 8 a.m. It was like 7:30 because I really wanted to watch the new episode of Digimon. But I also had all been there. But I also had football practice at like 8:30, so I was like I was a very conflicted youth. So yes, like I had a lot of like original character Digimons like sprawling the margins of my notebooks, and a lot of like really weird original characters based on
all fucking each other.
Absolutely. They evolved into one, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I drew my fair share of Gokus, I guess you could say.
That unprompted. Fuck you, man.
Caldwell, do you, referring to this specifically and also just generally all the nerdy stuff we've done, do you guys think it's hard to split the difference between like catering to the kind of people that came to this panel, the kind of people in the Javits Center, and the general audience? Because College Humor is it's a broad site. There's a lot of people on this site, and not all of them have read Dune. Do you think that's hard to split the difference?
Well, I mean, we work on the internet, so we're like already a little closer to that that perfect, I guess, nerd realm. But yeah, I try to like veer towards like at least more popular things that people have heard of, just like because I wanna like be inclusive and like help people out. But I've been known to sneak a Homestuck reference into things that I draw.
Do you guys think that someone who is not familiar with Battlestar, not familiar with Dune, obviously I don't want to hang out with this person, but these people do exist, and do you think they would enjoy this article? I don't mean to put this article on the spot. Do you think someone who wasn't familiar with Doctor Who or RPGs could enjoy a Doctor Who RPG, just in general?
No.
No.
But I think we make so much stuff. Like the site produces so much content in a given week that I really don't feel bad about when we make stuff that a large portion of society just won't care about. Yeah. You're like, okay, well then they can read the next thing, which will be, I don't know, some not nerdy joke that we sometimes make where we just get filthy.
Yeah, we're focusing on the nerdy stuff, but there's tons of gross stuff on the site too.
And I think, I mean, I haven't read Dune, but I'm aware of like what Dune is, and I know it's like full confession. I have,
Everyone, if you're listening, everyone just left the room.
Well, that's why it's funny. It's like I think I haven't read it because it's like a 900-page book about spices. So I
think you're simplifying Dune a little bit.
But it's what makes it so funny to like compare it to a children's book. And that worm was dope.
Pat, hold on to the microphone there because I'm actually going to go back for a second. Another fun detail, one of Caldwell's many details, is the corners, just the hexagonal, or I guess it's not a hexagon, cutting the corners off of every piece of paper in Battlestar, which, Pat, for one of your least popular nerdy articles, you sent me an entire feature you did about this very concept, which was, what was it called? Actually, I didn't write down the title. What was it called, Pat?
I think it was just like memos from the Battlestar Galactica or something.
Memos from the Battlestar Galactica. And I actually printed this one out, too, because it's kind of hard to summarize. And, Pat, I was wondering if you would treat us to a reading of it.
Okay. Yeah, you guys know that had the corners on the papers in Battlestar Galactica are cut off. What up with that, right?
Are you doing a Colonel Ty impression?
What should I read? The first one? Should I just read one of them? What do you want? What?
I don't know. Maybe the second one. I don't know. We're into it. We're rolling now.
It's kind of there's like a narrative to it.
There is.
Okay, I guess I'll read the second to last one maybe, which is maybe not up there.
That's okay.
Okay. So this is like basically what's happened in this thing is like Laura Rosalind keeps sending, because there's like this constant tension, at least in the early seasons, between Adama and Laura Rosalind, and she's sending him these memos, like urging him to stop wasting time cutting corners off all the pieces of paper, because it would be easier. It mathematically would take less time to cut the paper into rectangles, because that's how paper works, So that they go back and forth, and she's getting more and more frustrated with him, and this is the last one. Bill, please explain why you've diverted the jump drives to power a paper cutting factory. Thanks to you, we are now stranded 4.24 light years from the nearest habitable planet. But hey, at least we've been freed from the threat of 45-degree angles, right? You should know I've joined with your son Apollo and am forming an anti-corner trimming coalition that will remove you and your scissor-happy warhawks from the helm of the Galactica. Gotta go, the Cylon warships are approaching, and all our pilots are in Doc Cottle's sick bay with paper cuts. Let's hope the Cylons are terrified of octagons, Admiral. Frack off, Laura. And then their last one is like, he's bitter, so he starts doing these like starburst-shaped pieces of paper.
I thought that was really funny. I actually recall encouraging you to do it, and like the talk about whether or not to do it. So maybe I'm
last time I listened to you.
Do it, man. No, do it. Everyone's gonna love it. It's gonna get.
Yeah, actually, this was a good example of trying to figure out the difference between an inside joke and something that other people would get. Or we were like, you wrote it right around the time that everyone in the entire office was watching Battlestar Galactica and really only talking about that. And we sort of
2010.
We sort of have an ability to forget about other people and what they might think about. And so you wrote that and we're like, well, this is funny. We'll just put it up and see.
Yeah, it just seemed. I feel like I couldn't. Watching the show, it was so. That like hexagon motif was like so strong in it, and it just like I thought it was really funny because it's really impractical. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's funny, and I think
it's bullshit that they're all out there.
I think
Get on my side, man.
This is the kind of thing though that like even though it didn't do well, like it certainly could have done well, right? Don't you think? Mm-hmm. Like can't you see?
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know. You know, it's probably like hit or miss.
Again. I'm gonna repost.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. No. I mean, I think it depends on like. A lot of times you're just sort of like rolling the dice. I mean, every sketch almost. We've had ones that we thought were like surefire hits, and you know, everyone's kind of a roll of the dice. And I think the more obscure the joke is, the bigger the risk it is that it will not be popular. But if you like strike some chord that no one's ever struck before, because it's a little more obscure, you know, the payoff could be way bigger. I'm struggling to think of an example of like a sort of that thing.
Murph taking the mic.
Yeah. I think you have to take chances like this because if you stay too general, then you just end up alienating everyone. Like if you're gonna make a Battlestar Galactica joke, you can't just make the first one you think of because then fans of Battlestar have already thought of it, so they're not gonna like it. People who don't watch it aren't going to like it just because it's Battlestar. So you need to get kind of specific and weird, and that that's why it's a risk, and that's why sometimes it pays off.
Yeah, I think this is like the kind of thing that like in 2 years like we'll hit on Reddit and like r/Battlestar and we'll be like, oh yeah, that thing.
Oh my God, that would be a dream.
All right, let's move this along and talk about Andrew, your site, Dorkly. We actually wanted to show you. Give it up for Dorkly. Let's see some Dorkly stuff. So one of the main features on Dorkly is this video series called Dorkly Bits. And Dorkly, I want to stress, is like a lot of content, both about like new video games. Like there was this comic you guys did this week about Fallout that was a big hit. It had like 1 million views already, I believe. But there's this series we do called Dorkly Bits, and they're like 8 and 16-bit animation remixes. And this is actually the only video we're going to show, but I thought it was so funny. We wanted to show you guys this. It was called Mario Goes Berserk. So this is Mario Goes Berserk.
Ah! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh!
Thank you, Mario, but our princess is in another...
We've got to get out of here! Stand your ground, brother! No! Please! We need to get out of here. Stop the car! I said get in the fucking car! Go, 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 go!
My favorite detail of that video, and I'm like the dude on Reddit now that like the top comments just like saying their favorite part of the video, but my favorite part of that video, and I only noticed it, or I only remembered it watching it again, was when he cuts off Toad's head and then eats his head to grow large because it's a mushroom. It's a mushroom. That's how mushrooms work in Mario. Dorkly kind of spun off of CollegeHumor because we were doing so much video game stuff on CollegeHumor that did so well. It was like almost threatening to overwhelm CollegeHumor, and we had to make it its own site. We do a lot of Mario videos. Was our 8,000th Mario video that week. Andrew, why do you think? Why Mario? Why do we always go back to Mario?
First off, just to make sure everyone knows, I think Murph wrote that one, and I
think it was Caldwell's idea though, so I kind of just stole Caldwell's idea, and that was barely writing. Like that wasn't writing.
That happens a lot. Just to throw that out there.
But to answer the question, I think we do a lot of Mario videos because Mario is just kind of the default video game thing that we all grew up with and is this common point of reference for so many people. And we can get so specific and weird with Mario because everyone knows every single aspect of Mario like 1 through 3. That we can just do some really weird, different stuff and everyone will kind of have an idea of where we're going with it and where we're coming from.
This is a legitimate question that I'm curious about everyone's answer to, and I really don't know how I feel about this. Do you think we're ever going to run out of Mario jokes? I honestly thought we hit peak Mario a few years ago and we'd be done by now, but we're still producing Mario stuff. It's still popular. Also, it's still funny. Like I think we're still doing good stuff. Do you think we're ever going to run out?
We're coming close.
There are 3 left. There are 3 Mario videos left that we can make. That's it.
But we're still finding new stuff. I mean, I wrote a video it's not done yet, but I wrote something this week where Mario's trying to play the warp whistle, but he can't remember how to play it because it's not just a whistle, okay? There's holes in it. It's like a flute, really. And he keeps getting taken to the wrong worlds, and they're like these horrifying worlds.
Isn't it? It's called Everything is on Fire World.
And so there's always like new weird stuff that you've never really seen before that you can change about it. And we did another one this week where Mario's dealing with his ex-girlfriend Pauline. He keeps commenting on his Facebook and keeps texting him and stuff. And there's just different aspects you can pull from real life or different things to just fit in a Mario universe.
Yeah, I think everyone's just so familiar with the character that like that ex-girlfriend thing is a good example where it doesn't even need to be set really in a Mario game or anything. Like, you know the character so well and the audience knows the character so well that you can just, make a sketch that could be about a boyfriend or a guy and his ex-girlfriend, and it's Mario, and that's, and there's
Yeah, I think if Nintendo hasn't run out of Mario ideas at this point, then we're not going to.
I don't know if you played New Super Mario Brothers 2, but they might be running low too. Oh.
Ooh.
Okay.
Miyamoto's right there. Yeah, Miyamoto just stands up and leaves.
So
He flies out with wings.
in addition to these videos, like I mentioned, we also do a lot of comics on Dorkly, a lot about new games. Do you find yourself where you're ever in this position, and this goes to everyone just with stuff in general, where you're like, we got to be doing something about Dishonored. I guess I got to spend all weekend playing Dishonored. Do you ever find yourself having to play games just so you can comment on them on the site? I think you need the mic back.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Sounds terrible.
Because, no, and it's weird. I play a lot more video games now than I used to, but I find myself enjoying them a little less.
Is that sad? That sounds sad.
It is sad in a way, but then I have my free time video games too.
What's the difference? How do you separate the free time video games? Like, what's like a for-work video game? What's a free time video game for you?
Like when I'm playing Final Fantasy VI on an emulator on my computer, that's a free time video game because I have no intention of making a joke about Final Fantasy VI anytime soon because it's not like something that we need to make a joke about. But like current games like Dishonored or XCOM, that's kind of the work games.
What about everyone else on this panel? You guys ever find yourself working towards watching something because you have to?
I think it's just hard sometimes because you need to cover a wide array of games. We have such a small staff, so there's some people, like any gamer, there are people who like RPGs a lot, but they don't like first-person shooters. And you can't make an entire site based on one type of game just catering to your interests. So you have to play games that you maybe wouldn't normally, and it's especially hard because Andrew's the editor, and so he has to cover all these things by himself, basically.
Yeah, I think as soon as you categorize playing video games as work in your brain, or as something you do for work, it's amazing how fast your brain considers video games to be something that you shouldn't be excited about playing. Which is such an asshole opinion for your brain to have. Like, oh God, you got to play Dishonored this week.
Can you guys recall a specific video game that you were not enjoying, but you were like, I got to know what this game is about because we have to be doing something about it?
Oh man, oh God, yeah, was it? Yeah, Final Fantasy 13. Oh my God, I hate that game so much, and. I was like, oh man, new Final Fantasy game. Let's all get together and play it all night. And man, that was bad. On the rails, man, that game sucked. Let's make Final Fantasy 6 jokes.
I had like a big like internal crisis when we were like playing that game because like Murph and Kevin were just like, this sucks, I'm over it. I'm like, no guys, it's still good. Look at these summons.
I need someone to talk to about
That
this.
one's a motorcycle. That's cool, right?
All right, well, that is all I had prepared. So let's turn it over to you guys. Any questions from the audience? Oh, okay, right over there. Yes. Oh my God, she's very prepared for this. Okay. The question is, I was a huge fan of Bleep Loop, so what happened? Bleep Loop, first of all, I have received, thank you so much, first of all. I've received this question a lot walking around Comic-Con, which is, I mean, really, really nice to hear. Bleep Loop was a series that I did with Pat over here, where basically we recorded ourselves playing video games with our friends and put it on the internet, and it was super fun to do. But it was very, and it's crazy to me that we did that and that like people, and we haven't done it in like 2 years now, and that people are like, why don't you just play more video games with your friends and record it? But it was very time consuming in a weird way because it was, and believe me, this is not me complaining about it. It was very editing intensive, and I did the editing because no one else could see my vision for how to cut down an hour of us playing video games into a few minutes.
You're also the only person, oddly, who knew how to like record off the TV with the thing that recorded the game footage. It was what we record on, we shoot on Tuesdays, was it? I don't remember. But like every Tuesday night, because we recorded like right after work, you would just see Jeff for the last hour in this one room and just surrounded by a ball of wires.
Just like sitting Indian style.
I don't think it ever was every shoot, there was always like one thing going wrong with the recording.
I'd always strive to like try to push it. Like I think the most complicated one was we did one with Robbie the Robot with Simon Rich, and Robbie the Robot is the toy, Simon Rich is the person. And Robbie the Robot works like the Zapper, where it can only work with with an old style TV with a tube.
With the scan lines.
So like we had to get one of those TVs. We had to figure out how to record off it. It was extremely complicated. So there's a lot of stuff like that would come up, or like getting the power pad to run through it, or just stuff like that.
Because we were gonna do a light gun. We were gonna do a light gun episode at one point, which would have been really fun.
Yeah,
or we were gonna do the Hunt for the Red October, the video game,
which worked with the Super Scope, I believe, or maybe it was I don't know. So what happened to it?
This would have been answered had we kept doing the series, man.
So, at a certain point, we had this idea to try to take it to the next, kind of turn it into something else, like evolve it, because it was limiting, I guess, to a degree, and it was hard. And so we thought maybe we could use this work to do something else, and we did this show called Nerd Alert, which we did briefly. Thank you. And that was really fun, and that was talking to people and there was two segments. One was like talking to friends, and one was like interviewing people, and that was really fun too. But I didn't even know this going in. We kind of lucked into it, where the first episode, this kid contacted me. I put on my blog this poster of the Mortal Kombat arcade game from the 90s, and it was like Johnny Cage is like standing there, and Kano's like leaping out of the machine and grabbing hold of a kid, and he's like screaming, and it's like this cheesy 90s thing. And I put it on my blog, and this kid emailed me, and he was like, hey, I'm the kid in that poster, and now I'm a professional pinball player. So I was like, we got to get this kid on the show, and we interviewed him, and that's really how it started. But I realized that interviewing people, like that was kind of the part of the show I was having the most fun with and was the most excited about. And when we do things for College Humor, like we have a lot of leash. Like no one to do whatever we want, to do Goodnight Dune and Thick Spain, Office LARPer. Like we can do whatever we want, but I think so. Like no one was like, you can't be weird or anything like that. But we sort of have a responsibility to make things that we think will get passed around and be popular. And I was sort of interested in like leaving that responsibility behind and just doing whatever the hell I wanted. So, which again, I could do a lot of at College Humor, but like now I do this podcast, which I'm recording this for actually. So. And I can do whatever I want and not worry if anyone will enjoy it. And it's very freeing and kind of enjoyable. And I want to get back into doing the videos. We've done a few specials.
I don't have that, so I just go home every night and scream in a room alone for 30 seconds. It's great. Works out really good.
So we want to get back. I want to get back into doing more video stuff, honestly. We've done a few Nerd Alert specials. We did a Leap Loop reunion with Gabrus and Dan Klein. And I want to get into doing more of that, but it's just been busy. And I think we will get into doing more of it. And Pat, of course, I miss working with Pat on a weekly basis. But Pat and I still work together on a ton of stuff, including a lot of the podcast stuff. So how's that for an I don't know. That's kind of what happened to it. Hopefully more video stuff of it soon, but it sort of just evolved, not in a planned way, but just into this podcast.
If you guys, I do a lot of Let's Play videos, and that's kind of the same thing. So you can look up my channel. It's Sonic Guilty Gear XX769. Just check me out.
Cool. Sir. The question was, what is the legality around using these characters and that kind of thing? I am not a lawyer, as I'm pretty sure no one at this table is to say that
I'm a lawyer.
Oh, really? Never mind. We are the opposite of lawyers. We do the exact opposite of what lawyers do. So I don't know that we can like.
It's always like every video. Honestly, it's like it's different. Like it's kind of it's an ongoing question. We have lawyers that work at CollegeHumor and. Generally, it's parody, so we can kind of do whatever we want. There's always weird little rules where if you're doing some Disney sketch or something, it's like, well, she can't be fucking Gaston or something like that because that's kind of that is that somehow in some legal way some lawyer could twist that into slander or something. Exactly. Yeah, just as a fan, the lawyer was just like, you can't fuck Gaston, okay? Yeah, I swear to God, it's a legal thing. It's not just me. But it really is. Like, I mean, that's why we have lawyers. They kind of, in general, though, we have. I personally don't get a ton of like you definitely can't do this. It's more of just like you get 2 or 3 notes from the lawyers being like, can you change this? Can you change that? Which are also makes for some of the funniest emails because there's nothing funnier than like a lawyer sending you an email that's like, that would say like, okay, so on page 2 when she fucks Gaston, could you have to ejaculate everywhere or something? That video comes out tomorrow, by the way.
We kept the ejaculation scene.
An actual conversation I did have like with our lawyer was basically that situation as well. I did a comic a while back called I'm trying to remember the title of it. It was like Mickey's Secret or something, and it was about Donald asking Mickey why he always wore gloves, and he just takes his hand off, and his fingers are all just penises. And I had to have an email exchange with our lawyer where I was like, hey, here's a JPEG for you to look at. Is this okay for me to put on the internet?
Caldwell once lost us a sales deal.
Oh, yeah. That was another thing. That was a comic actually written by Brian Murphy, but yes, I did.
What was that one?
That was
I don't think I know about this.
that was the Roadhead comic.
What was the Roadhead comic about?
The Roadhead comic was I'm not remembering it exactly correctly.
Oh, it was I think the first couple panels was like a guy. It was like a guy looking traumatized, and he's like, "What happened?" He's like, "My girlfriend gave me Roadhead," and he's like, "No, that sounds
that
cool."
sounds awesome. But
And then it cuts to the last panel is just her driving while giving him Roadhead, and they're like clearly swerving off the road.
And Caldwell lovingly rendered this in high color on the front page of CollegeHumor.com.
How much money did we lose?
Well, I'd rather not say.
How much money did we make though?
We had a.
We got so many internet points off that.
We got an angry letter from an advertiser saying that they didn't want to be associated with CollegeHumor for various reasons, including like one thing, the other thing, things like Roadhead on the front page, specifically mentioning your comic.
All right, we got 10 minutes, so let's get some more questions in here. Over there, Dante from Devil May Cry, I think. Okay, so the question is who does the voices for the Dorkly Bits? Specifically, you were wondering about Tails because you watched Sonic for Hire. You guys want to?
I think most of the voices are Murph, Owen, and Caldwell, who are all very recognizable voices. But the Tails, I think, is Mike Parker, who works at Lowbrow Studios, who actually does all the animation on the Dorkly Bits. And he helps us out because he has a very good animation type voice.
And he also does the animation for the bits most of the time, if not all the time.
Voice?
We keep sending him other vocal tracks for Tails, and he just deletes them and replaces them with his own.
That's pretty cool that you guys have like voiced like every video game character at this point. There's almost 200 Dorkly Bits. You guys, is there like one character you were particularly excited to portray? Caldwell going right for the mic on that.
You go first.
No, you go. You went. You're excited.
I got to do Ganon in a couple sketches, which was really fun because like every time that Ganon's involved, there's usually just like a chance where you get to do like a super evil laugh, and it just means that I'm like in this like tiny voice box, just like laughing maniacally, and like Owen, I do the announcer voice for Owen's like fighting game series that we're doing, and that's also fun because Owen will watch me like do these like announcer things where I'm like cross combo, and I'm like actually making the gestures in the box.
Yeah.
And
we get to give fun notes like, all right, less Mortal Kombat, more Marvel versus Capcom.
Yeah. The fate of two worlds.
I think the favorite thing I've done a voice for in a Dorkly bit has been Rusty from Pokemon Rusty, which is really fun.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Why Rusty? And real quick, because we got to get to more questions.
He's a fun. He's an optimist and he's terrible at Pokemon, and his actions ruin lives.
Murph, any favorites?
Yeah. So I'll catch myself like casting myself as characters I really like because I'm an asshole. But there'll be like a Ninja Turtle sketch, and I'll be better at doing like a bro-y voice, so I should be Michelangelo, but I'll make myself Leonardo because I love Leonardo. And I do it by accident. Like after I record it, I'll be like, why?
You voiced Leonardo and Raphael in that. Why, dude?
You're the only person.
Because I feel like I'm a renegade, but also a leader.
You're the only person who Leonardo is your favorite Ninja Turtle.
You made me be Donatello, man.
Are there any Leonardo people in here?
A handful, about a quarter of the room.
Pretty small percentage there, actually.
All right, so let's get some more questions. Up here, Ang.
You guys do a lot of bits involving very popular pop culture video games, such as you said Mario. Everyone really gets Mario, but there's sort of a whole like other competitive video games like groupings, things like StarCraft 2 or other video games that have a lot of professional gamers. And there was one bit I remember where you had the professional StarCraft gamer come in and you played against him, and he won. But there's not that much going on in the videos. Is that because you guys don't do it that often and you don't have that much of a base knowledge, or because you don't think it will appeal to a mass?
Okay, so the question was why like I said, we often focus on Mario, and we talked about Zelda and Ninja Turtles, but that's sort of a specific, those games are all of a specific type to a degree, and why don't we do more, I think, hardcore games, or competitive games like StarCraft? What do you guys think? I know we have done some StarCraft at least.
Yeah, as far as Dorkly goes, just how quick we have to turn around the videos and everything, they sort of have to be pixelated. So we tend to do older games with that, and then cover newer games with comics and stuff, just because it sort of lends itself more to that particular medium.
Cool. I'd say that covered it. Sir. Why do we use the same characters repeatedly in the Dorkly bit, specifically with the Mario and Pokemon ones?
One reason is because we tend to get a bigger response out of those, so it just kind of, I don't think it's something we tend to think about, but it's like, oh, well, this one did really well, so we'll do more of them. And it's fun to just mine really deep into these things that people typically don't. You know, like that Mario goes berserk thing. Mario has an axe there. Why doesn't he just kill everyone? You know? And this is something that everyone can relate to, and everyone's going to get it. And the response to that one was huge. And it just, you know, it's very encouraging to get that kind of response. So it's kind of like, oh, well, let's just keep going deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think those games like Mario and Pokemon are such archetypes. And there's like, Mario is like just so defining of video games, and like the first Mario like really defined the grammar of video games. So I think like you could do that exact sketch with those type of jokes with like any game where the character just like breaks through his like basic set of moves and starts doing anything. But I think if you do it through Mario, like, so we could have done that sketch, I think, where like Samus like starts throwing rocks at people and, you know, starts using the environment in the way you might if you were actually there and could do more than two things. But I think if you use like a character like Mario and like more people are familiar with the details, it makes it easier to get that joke. Yeah. Okay, over here, sir. How do we get as many celebrities as we do? Is there something you're specifically referring to there, like on College Humor? Sure. How do we get those many celebrities? Pat?
We we actually have a talent booker out west who like her job is just sort of like know who's interested in doing a video with us, or who is or if we're interested. If we want to do a video with someone, she can get in touch with them, or at least get in touch with their people or their people's people most of the time. And we just basically we'll me and Owen and Murph and the rest of the writers will have a brainstorm, and just like if there's an actor we really like and would love to do a video with, we'll just brainstorm ideas that we think would be funny for them and send them off. And sometime every now and then, not all the time, but they'll come back and they'll like one. And that's typically the way it works. It's pretty straightforward.
Real quick, can you think of someone we like wanted to work with? We pitched them, and they were like the idea that they were into.
Someone we wanted to work with that we pitched them, and they were.
Or vice versa, someone who like came to us and like what we pitched them. Just an example of this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. We did.
What about that Lance Reddick video recently?
Oh yeah. Well, he actually came to us.
Lance Reddick, of course, from
Fringe and The Wire and stuff. He came to us and was
Jonah Hex. He's in Jonah Hex.
We just got word that he was kind of into doing some kind of sketch comedy video on the internet, so we all met and brainstormed ideas for him. But there was just this is an example of an existing idea just being a really good fit. And we had this sketch idea for a fictional sort of America's Most Wanted show, but like the whole point of it was to basically expose buildings that used to be IHOPs because they have the blue roof, but now they're like dentists or something like that, which is kind of this weird like suburban phenomenon. If you kind of grew up in a weird certain parts of like New Jersey or upstate New York, they're just all over the place. And it was like it just was a perfect fit because he's on The Wire, he's on Fringe, he plays this total hard ass, and he loved it. I mean, he was like, I think actually he was gonna do it, and then he had something happened, and like someone died that he knew or something, so he like stopped doing it for like he didn't do it. We had to wait like the right amount of like the respectful amount of time to be like, hey, Lance, I know you're bereaved and everything, but. We would love to do this IHOP sketch with you if you're not still mourning. But he was great. He was totally game. That was a really
so
cool
funny
fit.
in that video too. It's a perfect fit.
So yeah, it both ways. Sometimes if we have an idea that we think a celebrity would be perfect for, we will like just get in touch with them somehow, usually through our talent booker, and then hopefully they'll be into it. And sometimes it's it's like a two-way street.
All right, we got time for one more question. One more question is going right up here. What are you dressed as, real quick? Kiki. Oh, from Kiki's Delivery Service. Perfect. Kiki with a Swiffer. So the question is, how do you consider yourself writers who nerds who found out who they could write, or writers who happen to be nerds? And how'd you get your start in comedic writing?
Who wants to start?
Well, let me just real quick demonstrate. How many people at this table worked as an intern at CollegeHumor before they were a full-time employee? I'm raising my hand. Pat should be raising his hand.
I was an assistant.
Murph worked the front desk. Susanna was. Caldwell was. Owen was. Andrew wasn't, but he was our main freelance writer. So I think we all got our start to a degree, kind of at the low end of the totem pole and just working our way up. So what about that other half of the question? Nerds who became writers, or writers with nerdy tendencies?
I have a specific example, and I think everybody at the company has seen. I brought them in when I was 8. I wrote my own comic book based around the events of Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And it's all done on computer paper and crayon, and it involves I added my own lines for what Sonic and Tails are saying, and it would be cool zingers Sonic would be "Whoa, nice jump," and Tails will say, "You can say that again, Sonic," and Sonic says, "Thanks, Tails."
I thought Sonic was gonna say the line again, but instead he just said thanks. But I wish I could show 8-year-old Caldwell, present-day Caldwell, and be "You're going to be doing this professionally."
Well, that's the thing. Is even as early as that, I kind of was trying to combine those two passions because I really like nerdy stuff, and I really liked making comics and writing comics and stuff. So any outlet I could combine the two, I definitely would. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the paths of nerdery and passion and comedy are kind of parallel, because if you're a person who is not generally a popular person in your social group, or if you spend a lot of your time focusing on one particular pop culture niche, then you need to figure out some other way to relate to other people. And a lot of times that takes the form of making other people laugh or trying to like fit in and be like a funny person. And so, yeah, really the heart of loneliness.
Entertaining yourself, yes.
This sort of tangential, but you and I were talking last night about how like an odd number of comedians we know at one point entertained the idea of being magicians. And we were trying to figure out why, and we kind of determined it was like probably when we were kids, like we wanted to entertain people, but we were also just kind of like turds, and like magic is the cross section of entertainment and being a turd.
All right, I think, and with that, I think we're going to call it a panel. Thank you again to all our wonderful panelists. Thank you to you guys for asking awesome questions, and have a good night.
That is it for this week's show. Thank you again to all the panelists and to College Humor for letting me do it. Next week on the Jeff Rubin Show, I will be talking to Dr. Robin Rosenberg. She is a clinical psychologist, a practicing clinical psychologist who also writes about superheroes and diagnoses superheroes. And here is a clip from that episode where we are already in the middle of a discussion about X-Men.
Their struggle, both as gifted individuals who are marginalized, certainly rings true in terms of human nature and what we know about giftedness and the social implications of that. And their battle with the Brotherhood of Mutants and with humans really captures something essential in their quest to be accepted. So that was what got me. I had been writing the chapter on social psychology for the introductory psychology textbook when I kind of was introduced to the X-Men, and it just leapt off the page as examples of what was in our textbook. So
Magneto always struck me as kind of the most realistic or the most believable villain, one of the best villains, maybe even the best villain in comic books, because he doesn't think he's a bad guy, and he has these very specific motivations. And I think less so than like Dr. Doom, who just wants to kind of destroy the world. Magneto sort of has noble intentions, doesn't he?
He does. And I think that raises the issue that I've kind of created a typology of villains, if you will. It's in a book that's coming out next year with Oxford University Press called Our Superheroes Ourselves. But there are definitely a category of villains who are only villains from our perspective. And from their perspective, they are doing the right thing and acting heroically. And Poison Ivy is another example who thinks that she's basically a hero. And that's true in our world as well, where one person's enemy, someone who seems evil, is from another person's perspective doing the right thing. And we see this in the political landscape now with this election year all the time.
So that is going to be a really fun episode. We are going to talk about Batman. We're going to talk about Joker, Green Arrow, Buffy. You're not going to want to miss it, and you won't, because I will remind you when it's up if you follow me on Twitter, where I am at Jeff Rubin Show, on Tumblr at jeffrubin.com, on my Facebook fan page, or at youtube.com/Jeff Rubin. I'll see you next week. Bye.